Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Dynamo Football Book Club. My name's Al Bond and I'm joined by my co-host, international man of law and a funnier man than Marco van Basten, Johnny Conklin. Johnny, how you doing?
Hi, Al. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
This week we are doing Basta, the Marco van Basten autobiography.
Buren. Van Basten. Goed. Oh, wat een goal! Wat een goal! Wat een schitterend doelpunt, zeg. Ja, niet te geloven.
We have big development now. We are legitimate now in the world of football media because we've just had a book review, our review of The Miracle of Castle de Sangro has been published by the blizzard.co.uk. Familiar, I'm sure, to many of our listeners. It's the flagship magazine.
Eyebrow, Johnny.
Yeah, from Jonathan Wilson's Blizzard. He's the main man behind that. I guess anyone who listens to any football podcast is very familiar with Jonathan Wilson. So that's a nice little coup for us. We're on that website. I will put a little link on our social media. Please do have a read there, folks, on our website, of course, or on the Blizzard website. So there you go. That's fun, isn't it?
That is great. Well done, Johnny. Johnny, what did you know about Marco van Basten before we read this book?
He played in the late 80s and early 90s. So just before I started really watching football. So I guess his spectre loomed over my youth without knowing very much about him. I've seen some of the magic goals. I knew about the injury. But that's it. I thought he was going to be really, really cool. This book has disabused me of that notion.
He is one gloomy motherfucker, isn't he, Johnny?
The gloomiest.
Oh my goodness me. Like, genuinely, it's astonishing. The whole tone of this book is so severe all the way through. Like, his childhood sounds almost, hell, it's certainly Victorian and really depressed. Oh my goodness. This is a gloomy book.
I thought similar in a way to Owen, because I guess they have similar stories, right? Incredible skill, talent. Van Basten was ultimately more successful than Owen, both Ballon d'Or winners, and this strange relationship with their father in particular. Much like Owen, Van Basten's father was a footballer who put most of his focus on Van Basten. So Van Basten had two older siblings, a brother and a sister. Van Basten was a good few years younger, and he implies that he was kind of a mistake. And he was aware at a young age of this kind of preferential treatment that he got from his father. It made him feel uncomfortable in a way that it didn't make Michael Owen feel uncomfortable. So I was thinking, okay, this guy's got some emotional intelligence that's sincerely lacking in Michael Owen. But to be honest, I don't have much to say for Van Basten apart from that, because he's a whiny little bitch, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah, it's really quite difficult to understand how unhappy he is, how he's just not been able to come to terms with this ankle injury. Like, he writes this book at the age of 50 and he's just still so sad. Sad about it.
Yeah. Like, the book ends with him describing, I could have been like Ronaldo at my starts. I could have been like Cruyff in this sense. It's like, man, you are one of the giants of football. We talked about it with Owen. We were saying, is this guy happy with his career? And we said, no. But Van Basten is he's quite a sad character in a way, isn't he?
His home life sounds so incredibly depressing, which we'll get to. And I just don't think he ever got past that. Just, his mother has mental health issues, which we'll come back to. And as you say, his father is quite a strong personality. But every move his family makes, Marco criticizes. Like, oh, my father didn't care for my mother enough. Oh, now my father cares for my mother too much. Like, it's very strange. I mean, his brother and sister moved literally thousands of miles away to be on different continents from, like, the family Van Basten.
I wanted to talk about something positive, because there was a couple of interesting bits. He loves rich men, but I want to get back to that. But because it's topical, we've had it in a couple of books before. I think maybe Ian Wright talked about it. He talked about the options you have as a striker when you have the ball and you're running down on goal. And there's essentially three options. You can go around the keeper, or you can shoot early and try and shoot before the keeper thinks you're going to shoot and shoot past his standing leg, or you can wait and try and wait for him to go down and then you can kind of dink it over him. And he talked about the infinitesimal differences that the top players can do You may be aware, Al, that Ireland recently beat the mighty footballing nation of Hungary 3-2 unexpectedly away from home to proceed to the World Cup playoffs. Are you familiar with this recent development?
In all honesty, I'd forgotten about it due to Scotland's heroics. Superior heroics.
But did you see Troy Parrott's third goal of the day, his fifth in 4 days? Did you see where he kind of just rakes the ball a little bit with his studs in the air and it goes below the keeper?
Yes, I have seen that.
And
I mean,
on
10
the po-
times, Johnny.
Yeah, on the podcast that I listened to, and they're just talking about how it was just such a magical touch and all the rest of it. And I was wondering, is it really that scientific, or is he just poking his leg at that and hoping for the best? What do you say?
I think I know the podcast to what you refer, Johnny, and they were very excited, weren't they? The way he got his leg up there, he just managed to get the little flick down. Oh, that's world class, that. That's world class, that. There he is. Yeah, I think he just fucking it's the last minute of the game. He's just sticking his leg out a little bit, isn't he? Like, I mean, as if he had the option to think, now the keeper will be here. Now, if I just direct the ball down at an angle of 78 degrees, that will then be able to go underneath the keeper. Yeah, I think a bit. He just fucking stuck his foot on it and it went in, right?
Yeah, well, he did this amazing run to catch the timing of the ball, no doubt about that. But they must make those runs and the ball doesn't come to them all the time. And like a few minutes earlier, this other guy, Johnny Kenny, who plays for Celtic, I think it was his first appearance for Ireland. He came off the bench and he had a similar opportunity and he missed and it kind of hit the keeper's the keeper hadn't spread himself, but his arm was kind of down by his side, and it just hit that. And sometimes it just feels that maybe this stuff isn't as scientific as I think. Anyway, I think like especially in a situation like that, it's just kind of pandemonium, isn't it?
And I think also, despite what certain Irish pundits have been saying for this past week, Troy Parrott maybe isn't in the same class as Marco van Basten. At least not yet. Like,
Give him a chance. Well, I met a Spurs fan who said that they should never have let him go, and of course, I agree. But
he's got fucking West Ham written all over him. West Ham and a shitty career at West Ham. Oh mate, that's gonna happen, right? It's just he smells of West Ham to me, Troy Parrott.
But let me just say as well, I watched that in an Irish pub in Geneva, which obviously sounds raucous enough in itself. The place doesn't open till that game was on at 3:00 here on Sunday afternoon, and it usually doesn't open till 5. So they opened it up for this, and there wasn't that much of a crowd in there. But obviously everybody was there to watch the game. So maybe there was 30, 40 people. And I went crazy, insane in a way I didn't think I was capable of doing anymore. And honestly, the last time I went crazy like that was when Robbie Brady scored against Italy in 2016. But I found myself holding a chair, like a wooden chair in the bar, and I was just slamming it on the ground repeatedly. Just, I don't know why. I don't know why.
Well, I bet it was a place. Oh, it has been. What an international break it's been, Johnny. Really, really exciting.
Yeah, it's magic. And we have, these playoffs, we've got to play Czechia and Denmark. Czechia and then Denmark are kind of recent international bête noire. But this is our World Cup, really, because it's going to be tough. And if we get through this World Cup, then we've got another World Cup at the end of that one. Amazing.
The worst World Cup ever.
Anyway, so from one part to the Utrecht Swan. Is that the worst football nickname we've ever heard?
La Signa da Utrecht. They made a children's book about him. And he says, I like the thought that Italian kids are reading about the Utrecht Swan. The Italian kids are not reading about the fucking Utrecht Swan now. You think that's required reading in all like Italian primary schools? Let's read about the legend of Marco van Basten. No.
I bet you Marco van Basten is reading the Utrecht Swan
to his kids every night. Dad, we're 23. Listen again. So, chapter 1. Marco van Basten is laying on the floor trying not to piss himself. This is chapter 1 is very much Chekhov's ankle. And Marco van Basten is describing his technique of getting from his bed to the bathroom to take a piss. Now, Johnny, here he had my sympathy as a gout sufferer. I've had I've had some tear-laden trips to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Why must it hurt so much? Why? And yeah, but Van Basten goes on to describe his exact technique of mounting the toilet from a prone position to cater to his dodgy ankle. Oh, good God. It's like, oh, I don't know what a Dutch accent, I'm not going to do it. But like, I hope my kids don't wake up to a urine-covered landing. Bloody hell. Didn't you score a wonder goal or something? Why am I reading about your urine-soaked trip to the bathroom? But I think he's trying to convey just how bad his ankle is. He asks, is his ankle a test from God? Is this a lesson in humility for him? This ankle, I'm telling you.
Do you know what I got to tell you, German word though? And as you probably know in German, I don't speak German, but I gather you kind of can just make words by just kind of ramming other words together, which is kind of fun. So there's a concept in German called a Sitzpinkler. Do you know what a Sitzpinkler is?
Is this someone who pisses in a sink?
It's close. Apparently, it's quite common for men in Germany to piss sitting down. Did you know that?
Dunno. That sounds like Second World War anti-Nazi propaganda, doesn't it? Like, bloody Jerry sitting down as he takes a piss.
Well, that's what a Sitzpinkler is what you call someone in Germany who pisses sitting down. I was told that during the week, and I thought it was pretty damn funny. But anyway, he was more of a lying down pisser, I guess, and I don't know what the Dutch word for that is.
The Dutch language is fucking insane. It's probably Ubi van Dooby. Oh, I know. So immature. But some of these names in this book, my God, they're absolutely mad. They're just mad.
There was one guy, and I listened to the audiobook, and I always find this because I listened to the Cruyff audiobook as well, I think. Did I listen to that? Yeah. And so then it's been read in just a normal, whatever, kind of neutral voice with no particular accent. But then anytime they say anything with a Dutch name, they kind of fall back into it. And there was a fella called Jaap van Groot, which is the most Dutch name, isn't it? Yeah. I do get a kick out of that.
I've written them down. I mean, it's so childish, isn't it? I really don't like being the guy laughing at another language, but still. Hello, Ruud van Boom. How you doing? Oh, look, it's my chairman, Jerome Slob. Slob? Fucking hell. Oh, look, there's another chairman, Rick van den Boog. Boog? You just can't have a word boog. It's ridiculous. Man.
But on the topic of the ankle, okay, there's 72 chapters in this book. How many would you say is an acceptable number out of 72 to be about his ankle?
1.
Because it's called Ankle 1 and Ankle 2. How long did this series go to, do you know? Do you remember?
No, I don't know.
Ankle 9. 1/8 of this book. 1/8 of this book is about his fucking ankle. And I tell you what, Al, I've said time and time again that football is the most boring part of these books, but I was wrong. Injuries are the most boring part of these books, and operations around injuries are the most boring part of these books. And also financial stuff, tax. No thanks.
Well, that's it. I mean, halfway through the book, he's retired. Like halfway through the book. So you're looking at this going, what the fuck is he going to talk about? What now? Yeah, there's a lot of tax stuff. A lot.
He's so fucking entitled, this lad. Is he talking about guilders, or is he? I think it's in guilders, because like whatever that is. And he says he had 23 million guilders, and then the tax authorities in the Netherlands came after him. And he lost. This was an investment. He lost after 9/11. And he doesn't even mention it. He said, I hope no more planes fly into buildings. He says something like that. I was like, okay, a bit insensitive. But anyway, he said
Marco van Basten was the real victim on 9/11.
That's what he wants you to believe. He loses 10 million of his guilders on the back of the stock market collapse. And he says, I guess I can survive on 13 million. Now, I don't know what 13 million guilders are, but I did think of Michael Owen there as well. I was like, come on, dude. Unbelievable, this guy. And then he talks about later on the Italian tax authorities come from as well. But sure, like this guy, he was useless at management as far as I could tell. Ran away from management gigs all the time. All these guys have to do is turn around and get another job. He walks out of the Netherlands, he was rubbish there, becomes the manager of Ajax, fails there, and then they say, hey, would you like to be the chief executive of Ajax? It's like, what does it matter how much tax money they take off him? He could just turn around and get another job. It's like, these guys, I bet at the end, he's working for Johnny Infantino. And he says Johnny Infantino is a top guy. He's not a
Top guy.
Oh, he's not. He is not a top guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's it. He had money. He says at one point he was the best paid player on earth. No one was paid more than Marco van Basten. Ooh, mama.
But
It's just going back to his childhood, Johnny, the very gloominess, though. And I think, so Jupe is his dad, Jupe, ridiculous. But there's a chapter, Jupe and Jopey. And you think, this sounds like it's going to be a comedy double act. No. No, Jupe is his sad dad. And Jopey was his childhood friend. And I think this is the most traumatic story we've come across. Young Marco and Jopey were out gallivanting as youths, playing on the ice. Jopey fell in. Marco there witnessed it, didn't know what to do, ran off to get someone eventually. Jopey was dead. And then he kept a picture of Jopey with him, and his dad fucking ripped it up. What the fuck? It's... Wow. Yeah, it really sounds a weird childhood. Yeah, I just got real Victorian sad vibes about it.
That was heavy, that stuff with that poor little boy. Yeah, absolutely horrible. And
Yeah, that's it. And he goes on to say his dad hit the bottle, his whole family. Maybe you didn't need to put that in, Marco. Like slacking off his...
You mean Jupy's dad, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. Like, we didn't need to know that.
Yeah, very, very sad. And he must have been incredibly scarred by this, Van Basten.
I mean, it's difficult to picture anything more traumatic as a child. You know, you carry that guilt with you. He was the only guy there. I mean, maybe if he'd done things differently. I mean, he talks about that. Awful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is awful.
And he's just a kid. Like, he's about 10 years old at this point. Awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. Absolutely shocking. But there are some interesting characters in the book. And Cruyff remains one of the funnest characters in football to me. Because he's such a maniac. And Cruyff kind of takes the young Van Basten under his wing. Van Basten, understandably, idolized Cruyff. And he finds himself as quite a young man, a young player, after signing for Ajax, playing with Van Basten, an older Van Basten who's retired and kind of finishing up his career and that kind of thing. I think he actually played against Van Basten when Van Basten was at Feyenoord, but whatever, I can't remember the exact chronology of Cruyff's career, but he's playing with him and Cruyff is taking him under his wing and he's teaching him this stuff and he just keeps talking to him relentlessly about how to do stuff, and Van Basten and his friends are making fun of Cruyff, doing impressions of Cruyff pretending they're Cruyff smoking cigarettes and stuff. Cruyff is such a cool character, isn't he? He's the anti-Van Basten.
I mean, he's so cool, right? He's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Van Basten, to make his debut for Ajax, comes on for Johan Cruyff. I mean, come on. It's like being understudy to Laurence Olivier or something. And you cannot deny, when he was in Holland, that boy was scoring for fun. Go, 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 go. But yeah, but Cruyff is a reoccurring character, right? At some point, Cruyff's wife, Danny, describes the two apples of Johan Cruyff's eyes were Marco van Basten and Pep Guardiola. Fucking behemoths of a game, like the continuity is wild.
But sorry, just on the coming on for Cruyff, we did a draft a couple of weeks ago on father sons. Something I failed to mention, even though it was on my notes, is do you know who Eidur Gudjohnsen came on for when he came on as his debut in his international debut for Iceland? Did you know who he came on as a sub for?
I think I can make a guess at this point. Gudjohnsen Senior.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it?
That is cool. It really is cool.
Yeah. If I were to ask you, Al, after reading this book, some Van Basten career stats, would you be able to tell me them?
No, because it's not really focused on his achievements. It's focused on every negative thing that ever happened to him. It's like he makes his debut for the second team. He scores 4 goals. 4 goals on your debut. That's a decent start, isn't it? But then we get instead pages on a dugout collapse in Ajax where some poor fucking lost 3 toes. And he's like, oh, if I was nearly there. I could have been in that dugout. It could have been my toes. Oh, imagine if he'd lost his toes when he was young, how gloomy he'd be then.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something so sexy about that period of Italian football in the early 90s, right? It's just there's something, because I guess we all had that Gazzetta Football Italia in the background as kids, right? So there's such a nostalgic cool to it and kind of otherworldly cool with all the players, all these handsome players with their long hair and their great kind of healthy lifestyle and lovely food and all their sharp suits. So I was just thinking, Van Basten, he's just going to be so damn cool. I wonder what they made of him in Italy.
Yeah, he does seem like a bit of an egg. You know, he did try and at least buy into it. As he said, he bought into the Italian lifestyle, as did his wife. So take notes there, Owen.
He went on holidays after his first season because it had been such a long and difficult season. He needed to have a rest. And he said that he had recorded loads of tapes on his Walkman and he was sitting sunbathing, listening to Wham, Wake Me Up Before You Go. And I just loved that picture. I just thought that was a lovely picture of the coming force in football, sitting by the swimming pool. He's got his, those headphones that have got those kind of funny little metally plastic thing and they pop around your ears like earmuffs and he's listening to George Michael. I just thought that was quite a nice image.
It was quite a nice image, and it was immediately followed up by him going whoring with Robbie DeWitt and watching Robbie DeWitt's arse banging a hooker because he'd finished first. So that nice image of innocent young Marco bopping along to George Michael is immediately ruined by the image of Robbie DeWitt's flabby white arse, as described by Marco van Basten, banging away at some Mexican hooker. So yeah, I would have left that out, Marco, if I were you. But there you go. Your choice. Your choice, old son.
Yeah, I think he did make some interesting editorial choices. But there are interesting things in this book. And his career is amazingly short, right? When you look at it in the span of the international game, his international career was effectively 1988, 1990, and 1992. That's it. Kaput.
Of all the footballers whose career has been ruined by injury, I'd put him at number one, eh? I mean, certainly in terms of talent. I mean, you talk about Norman Whiteside last week, but in terms of talent, this was arguably the best player in the world who basically after 22 was off to the knacker's yard.
Yeah, and he was the top of that 4-4-2 list that they padded out with Carlos Puyol and whoever else. But he was number one. But okay, so he's playing for Ajax, as you say. He's getting these injuries very early in his career. Cruyff becomes manager of Ajax, and Cruyff wants to return Ajax to kind of European glory, and they qualify for a Cup Winners' Cup. And at this point, Cruyff is getting pissed off with Van Basten because Van Basten doesn't want to play because he's hurt. And they make a deal. Cruyff says, just play. This is like Paul McGrath at Aston Villa when he's like 35. Just play the European games. You don't have to play the league games. You don't have to train. So he does. And they win the Cup Winners' Cup. But I kind of got the sense that maybe this really fucked up his ankle.
Yeah, it does sound that way. Concerning his ankle, it just seems he makes every wrong move. There's one bit where he goes to the absolutely best ankle specialist, René Marti, the number one ankle specialist in the world. And he goes, yeah, it's probably not a bad thing to be associated with Marco van Basten. Yes, it is, Marco. If you're the top ankle specialist in the world, you're the last person you want to be associated with. Like, blimey. Yeah, it probably does his reputation a bit of good. No.
He described this contraption later on that they had constructed around his foot, like a scaffolding, essentially, around his ankle, and with pins coming out his flesh. And he had to twist this thing twice a day. And it was separating his bones in order that whenever it was he needed to...
cartilage could grow.
Oh, mother of God. That sounded medieval, man.
And I'm no ankle specialist, Johnny. I don't claim to be a medical doctor. But I was looking at that and I was thinking, nah, it's not going to work. I mean, I've got the benefit of hindsight. But like, let's just stick a metal contraption on your leg and then the cartilage will grow back, won't it? Will it? All right. So he absolutely fucking nails it. His last game before he goes to Milan, scores 4 goals. Don't fuck around, Van Basten. That's the way to do it. During this time, also, his mother suffers a heart attack as well. It's so grim. And she goes into a coma and she loses 30 years of memories, apparently.
She never recovered, right?
Yeah, and the Utrecht fans were singing Your Mother's a Nutter, which he says, I found this totally insensitive. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that was pretty insensitive.
He's from Utrecht, and his dad was a fan of this team as well.
Ugh. Yeah, sometimes we forget footballers are real people, and we'll come back to that, Johnny.
Some of the stuff about about managers was interesting, I thought. And the most interesting, possibly of all, related to Rinus Michels. So he's this architect of total football. And so he was in charge in 1988 when they won the European Championship. And that's obviously the kind of high point of Van Basten's international career, because they had a stinker in 1990. But Michels had been taken out, or he had retired or resigned or whatever, and he went upstairs in the Dutch FA. And they had this manager that the players didn't like. And bearing in mind, the Dutch squad at the time had Gullit, Rijkaard, Van Basten, like some of the biggest names in international football. Koeman.
Ronald Koeman, yeah.
Yeah. And they all decided they didn't want this guy. So they say, get rid of this guy. And then the Dutch FA, Michels comes in his capacity with the Dutch FA and he says, okay, who do you want? And he gave 3 names. One of them was Cruyff. One of them was Leo Beenhakker. And they voted, and Cruyff got 8 votes. I think Beenhakker got 2 or 3. And then there was a third fellow who got the other 2 or 3. And they all thought, okay, that's fine. And they went away. And then the next time they met up, Michels came in and he was accompanied by Leo Beenhakker. I was like, whoa, look at this with Leo Beenhakker. So they're all like, what the hell? So Cruyff had obviously been overlooked. But it turns out Michels never spoke to Cruyff, and he just went straight to Beenhakker. And the interesting thing is, Van Basten says he believes that Michels did not want to be eclipsed. He didn't want Cruyff to eclipse the 1988 achievement by bringing the Netherlands to the World Cup in 1990. And this guy's working for the Dutch FA. Now that's amazing.
I took that with a pinch of salt. I just thought, I mean, at best, old Cruyff is a fairly divisive character, isn't he? Certainly in Dutch football. I just thought that was a bit harsh. I just think that's him like grinding his axe. But yeah, if you really think that he would sabotage a national team, and that's what Leo Beenhakker was, like a human sabotage. I mean, it's wild.
They've totally flamed out in the World Cup in 1990. They went so low as to draw with the Republic of Ireland. They went into the next round and they were beaten by West Germany. And this is where Rijkaard and Rudi Voller were sent off, right? This is the spitting incident, I guess.
Which isn't mentioned.
He doesn't mention the spitting, no, but he does mention them both being sent off. But Leo Beenhakker says that he has a thing called Box 13, exciting, which contains all of the juicy information as to why they failed in 1990. But Van Basten said it was simply that Michels just didn't want Cruyff, and that's all. And I thought that was and there's some more Cruyff stuff later on, but I thought that was the most interesting bit.
Yeah, and a fun fact, the manager who was deposed upon the behest of the players, old Marco van Basten goes on holiday, to Tenerife, like 2 weeks later, gets down on the beach. Who's there? That fucking manager. Hello. Sorry about that. Sorry. Oh, by the way, he goes on holiday with his wife, Lisbeth, and apparently, from what I can read here, he's a very attentive and loving husband. I'll tell you what, always, the biggest footballer trope, I think, is everyone was very excited about my 4 goals, apart from my wife. She doesn't care about football. Has any footballer ever married a woman who cares about football? This is always what they think keeps them humble, right? It's like, oh, my wife, she just doesn't care about the football. Someone marry someone who likes football, she's going to fucking think you're great, I mean, marry someone who likes football, and she's going to be like, fucking hell, Marco. What a day that was, I married you. I really do think that's a trope, right? I think footballers read it, it's like, oh, my wife doesn't really care about football. And they think you, the reader, is going to go, what a good, humble man. And I'll just think, fucking hell.
She keeps me grounded. And he goes off to Milan, and he's playing under Arrigo Sacchi and later Capello, but they just win. They just win all around him. Although he doesn't play for the first year because of this ankle thing. And the Milan folks are kind of pissed off with him. But obviously he gets in the team. He comes back. It's him. It's Hull. Eventually it's Rijkaard. And they just cannot stop winning. They win the European Cup. They win the endless Scudettos. And he wins the Ballon d'Or 3 times. But, he talks about the different finals briefly enough. None of that gets a whole pile of attention. And at any rate, I think some of that stuff kind of passes me by anyway, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm more interested. And let's get back to the powerful men that he loves so much.
He does.
God, he really does. So he's saying at Milan, Silvio Berlusconi used to fly in a helicopter land on the training pitch, come into the dressing room, and all the Milan players would stand up and applaud. Come on. Fucking be men. All but one. Ruud Gullit. Oh, mate, Ruud Gullit came out of this book real good, I thought.
Yeah, and I'd say of the two players he spoke about, perhaps in the most complimentary way, are Gullit and also Ancelotti.
Yeah, Ancelotti, busy midfielder.
Yeah, big heart, but apparently not very mobile.
Not very mobile, yeah, another injured lad.
But then I like this bit as well. So he's playing under Sacchi, right? And Sacchi has come from Parma. Berlusconi gets him in. Van Basten is Berlusconi wanted to make Milan not just the biggest team in Italy, but the biggest team in the world. And he's just so impressed by Berlusconi's wealth. And he talks about flying on this private jet of Berlusconi's. And at some point, he talks about being approached by Agnelli from Fiat and from Juventus, and him saying, "Oh, we should have bought you in 1997." It's like, I just couldn't believe this man saying this to me. He just loves these wealthy guys so much.
It's nuts, isn't it? Because, like, who's more famous, Marco van Basten or Agnelli? Marco van Basten by a country mile. Yeah, but that's it. That old Agnelli turns up to his old hospital bed and he's like, I can't believe that a man this powerful would come to console me. Blimey, relax.
Yeah. But then he says, Sacchi, they're winning, you know? And Sacchi is kind of very proud, but he's playing this Catenaccio style football, I guess, very defensive, very rigid. And before Rijkaard comes along, it's especially rigid, but Rijkaard brings a little bit more flair to the midfield. And Sacchi's always banging on about tactics and to Van Basten and kind of essentially beating his own drum a bit. And one day he says to him, "We didn't win because of you, Arrigo. We won in spite of you." Can't imagine any manager would really like that. So that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. And then Sacchi went to Berlusconi and said, "Look, I can't work with Van Basten anymore. It's me or it's Van Basten." And then who did Berlusconi pick?
Lovely old Van Basten. Lovely lick spittle, Marco van Basten. I'll have you know, he applauded me when I turned up in my helicopter. He's my choice.
And then Capello comes in. He plays, I think he said 55 games for Capello and only ever lost one. And that was his very final game under Capello. And Capello, again, just comes across with this, well, I guess maybe in some of the English international, in the books of the England players who play under him, Capello comes across as a bit weird. But in other books, he comes across as a bit of a stone cold motherfucking badass, doesn't he?
He does. Regrettably, that stone cold badass is always ruined in my mind at the thought of Jimmy Bullard running up to him saying, "Postman Pat," and then running off. Apparently that's what he used to do when he did get called up to the England squad. Big schnoz.
But yeah, he plays under Capello. They win more leagues, they win more European Cups, and that's the end. That's where he should have finished the book. That's where he should have finished the book, Marco.
Regrettably, no. Here's some of his observations on playing in Italy. Italian players dry their hair using hair dryers. Ruud Gullit had never seen the like. I highlighted that, Johnny, because I wanted to just bring up a funny story. When our mutual friend Dan visited me in Sierra Leone, no functional electricity, he brought with him a hairdryer. Imagine the guy through his bags like, what the fuck is this? Oh, you brought your hairdryer, Dan. You brought your hairdryer. It's no fucking electricity, mate. Oh, I loved it. He just styled it out.
He just styled it out. A friend of mine went to study in Birmingham. I'm 41, so this is probably a generational thing. Maybe it's changed in Ireland since. But he came back with tales of the English boys drying their hair with hairdryers.
I mean, I have dried my hair with a hairdryer. Not in the last 10 years, though. I'll give you that, I think. Probably not the last 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I brought my little girl to the pool the other day. I've been bringing her to the pool. And she dries her hair with the hairdryer down. I've started doing it. It is a bit of a treat.
Such body it gives your hair.
Exactly. Yeah. And after that, after his playing career, so he describes taking penalty against Peter Schmeichel in the semi-final of the Euros in 1992, and Schmeichel saving it and them going out because he was the only one to miss. He talks about what you can do in a penalty, about essentially picking the side or waiting. And that was interesting to the extent that anything was all that interesting in this book. But yeah, then after his career comes to an end, he goes down in the dumps a bit, and then he loses lots of money with investments, and the tax man comes calling at various times, ankle, 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 and then from nowhere they just give him the Dutch job. Now you're manager of the Netherlands, and this is the thing about Van Basten and his kind of his self-pitying attitude. He's just handed opportunities because of who he is and his incredible status in football, but he's not qualified for this. He does okay with the Dutch national team, but they don't win.
Yeah, he does fine. But yeah, the whole thing is he gets so stressed about it, he can't sleep. And they had to hire a guy, what's his name, like Eric Reen, who was like just basically there to comfort Marco van Basten. He said he like called him at 4 a.m. like, can you come to my room, please? I can't sleep. And he'd be like, you're okay, Marco. You're going to win tomorrow. It's like this is like a guy hired by the Dutch FA just to be your handler. It's like that's surely you've got to be able to cope with the stress. He can't cope with the stress, right? And every time he gives up a job as a manager, he's delighted. And then every time someone says, you want another management job? He's like, yes, please. Yeah, he's absolutely deluded. There's one bit where he gets the job at FIFA. That's right at the end. And he's like, oh, they want me for my ideas, not my name. No, but I don't want your stupid fucking ideas, you idiot. I mean, he's a proponent of fucking VAR, that prick. He's one of the big guys behind VAR. So keep that to yourself, Van Basten, you arsehole.
It makes football fair. Incorrect. He became the manager of Ajax. And the players he had at Ajax, by the way, Suarez, Vermaelen, Huntelaar. Under him, Ajax failed to qualify for the Champions League in 2009. Ajax, incredible.
The Ajax are a funny one, aren't they? They are, because he sort of loves them, but he also doesn't like them much. He's like, you have to understand, people talk about the Ajax Academy, but in fact, the Ajax Academy looks so good because Ajax is the biggest team, so all the best players go to Ajax. I never really thought about it like that. I thought it was quite funny. It's like, oh yeah, the legendary Ajax Academy. It's just they've got the best players because they're the biggest team. He also describes the Ajax Academy as a veil of tears at one point, camouflaged by Ajax continually winning the league. Wow, that's pretty good camouflage, isn't it? Like,
he also really, on a couple of occasions, really singles Donny van de Beek out for praise as for being a wonderful footballer. That didn't really age very well. But he had Suarez and he didn't win the league with Ajax. You should be ashamed of yourself. Suarez may be the best player to have played in the Netherlands for the last, 20 years. But okay, he was young when he was at Ajax. And he does funny things. So he is at Ajax, he steps down, they lose loads of games, he steps down. He becomes a manager of Heerenveen. He's appointed as AZ manager. They lose a few games. He steps down. And then he says, can I actually be the assistant? So he becomes assistant manager. Is that the only time you've ever heard of that happening in football? Must be.
Yeah, to willingly take that step down. Is it motivated by money? Because he really does seem miserable when he's a manager. Always.
I'm sure it's not for everyone, but yes, Al, why does he keep taking them if he hates it so much? He talked about Ian Robin at one point. What does Robin do now?
Oh, yeah, I've no idea.
Like, some people just disappear. Obviously, Robin is doing something, but like, if you're not into something, just don't do it, man. You don't have to be a manager.
All right, let's Google it. I'm going to guess football coach in Dubai.
I'm going to guess he's on Dutch television. Oh, he's playing on the professional paddle circuit.
Paddle circuit?
Paddle tennis. Yeah, you're familiar with this? It's like pickleball in America.
There's a professional circuit, though. How much do these lads get paid?
Well, I think maybe Ian Robin is okay. I think there's probably quite a few fellows, professional footballers, competing in the paddle circuit, precisely probably because you don't get paid very much. But there you go. That's what Ian Robin does. But yeah, like, you don't have to be a manager, Marco. Why are you doing it? But then after all of that, after the various failures, Cruyff approaches him. And obviously at this point, it's not very interesting to the likes of you and me, because we're talking about, football administration in the Netherlands, club administration. He's approached by Cruyff, who's got a grand vision for kind of bringing Ajax back to be controlled by players, which Ajax famously has been since, right? With Van der Sar and Overmars before he was sexually harassing that colleague of his. But Cruyff wants to bring these players in to have these various positions, and he wants Van Basten to be the kind of the CEO, effectively, football director or CEO, the main man. And Van Basten is like, no, I'm not sure about this, and then eventually talks him around. But then there's some other alternative plan that essentially sounds like the same plan, but someone else is pushing it. And Cruyff doesn't want it to go this way because I guess Cruyff is not in control. And Van Basten calls around to Cruyff's house. Cruyff is out. And Danny, Cruyff's wife, answers the door and it's like, oh, are you involved in this other group that are trying to achieve this thing with Ajax? And he's like, yeah, I wanted to talk to you on about it. He's like, well, if you're involved in that, you're not welcome. And Danny slams the door in his face.
What did you read into that turnaround in Cruyff? Why do you think he did change his mind?
Because he wasn't in control. Cruyff is a control freak.
I think so, but I also think he thinks Marco van Basten's a bit dim and would not be suited to that job. I think it sounds like something's like, oh, we're going to take over Ajax. You could be chief executive, Marco. And Marco's like, yes. He just doesn't seem suited to any sort of pressure situation whatsoever.
What is it that Logan Roy says about Kendall and the kids? You're not serious people.
Yeah, he's not a serious person. He's too busy. Here's another famous, powerful man he likes, which just made me laugh. I know I'm veering off like. He loves a golf tournament, as I think all footballers do, but he gets invited to a golf tournament with Baron Thierry van Zoyten de Haar. And he's like, other esteemed guests at this golf tournament, and this is where you're like, how old are you, Marco van Basten? Brigitte Bardot, Gregory Peck, Jackie Onassis, Maria Callas, and the most contemporary of them, Roger Moore. What the fucking how old are these cunts? Like, what golf tournament's this? Oh, I'm paired up with Brigitte Bardot and Jackie Onassis. What year is it? 1964? Wild.
Yeah, but he falls out with Cruyff, and he never him and Cruyff never patch up before Cruyff dies. But he does. I thought this was quite a kind of an interesting enough scene. He does meet Danny, in fact, at this golf competition. Oh, but Danny doesn't compete, but she's a golfer, but she doesn't compete in this competition, but she's at it. And they patch up, and she says, whatever, obviously she's struggling after Johan has died, and she's moved out of their shared home because she's surrounded by memories, and she moved into this apartment, and she was, redoing the bedroom, and she peeled back the wallpaper, and there were news articles all over the wall about Johan Cruyff. That was pretty amazing, I thought.
Well, that's right, Johnny. Yeah, you could say they patched it up, or another thing is you could say that Marco van Basten harassed an elderly widow at a golf tournament to settle some scores. That's another way of looking at it. That's not the way Marco van Basten sees it, but I thought of all that. Oi! Now your husband's dead. I've got some words for you, Duck. Remember when you showed me the door? Remember? You fucking... yeah.
Well, okay, and that's it. Yeah, he's...
Well, it's not it, Johnny, because I need to talk about some other things, like...
Oh, yeah, lay it on me.
If you went up and said, like, oh, Marco van Basten, I'm going to wrap some of your hair around a twig, and then I'm going to put an enchantment on it, and that will fix your ankle. What do you think Marco van Basten would say? He'd say, let's give it a go. He likes medical quackery. There's like a whole chapter of him walking in the sea. That's his, like, Ted Troost, who is his constant companion, like an Eileen Drury kind of figure, who at no point actually helps his ankle. He's there every step of the way. He's like, he told me to walk in the sea, and I did. And for a moment, my ankle felt better. I'll do it every day. So what are you talking about? Like, oh yeah, that'll fix your cartilage. A lovely walk in the sea. Ted Troost at one point, he's got a little daughter crying. Ted Troost comes, bangs the fucking table. Kid stops crying. He's like, this guy's amazing. Please work more on my ankle. And he subscribes to anything because he's so desperate, though, right? He's so desperate. Anything that anyone offers him, like maybe this will fix your ankle. Maybe if we put this medieval torture contraption on your ankle, this will fix it. He's like, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. No.
Yeah, it's like the end of Man in the Moon with the Jim Carrey movie when Andy Kaufman is seeking out these kind of increasingly crazy people to cure his cancer. Do you remember that? It was very sad.
Yeah, I've only seen it once. I've not watched it again and again.
I haven't watched Man on the Moon.
Favorite movie. Yeah, just keep watching it. Yeah, another of the really powerful, famous men he loves, Vladimir Putin. That's aged well, hasn't it, mate? Well done. Like, he even cracked a joke. Oh, you may not remember me, but I scored a hat trick to beat the Soviet Union. But Putin didn't smile, or maybe he did, just to be polite. And I just want to read out one extract from the book, Johnny, because this is where I think we do forget that footballers are real people sometimes. And this is one of the most traumatic experiences. Ajax had failed to win a game and he was accosted by a man in the crowd. If you've got children listening, maybe this is the time, because there's going to be some pretty unpleasant language. It's a stupid word, and that made it extremely painful. But he wasn't wrong. He was spot on. I took it personally. And then you feel powerless. I was angry with Ajax when I drove home for letting the man in the main stand. And I was angry with the TV company for letting the cameraman film it and then broadcast it. I know it was nonsense, but at that moment I felt so powerless, so much at the mercy of the predators. Fair game. Whether you had any understanding of football or not, whether you had won 3 European Cups and 3 Ballons d'Ors or not, it made no difference. He called me a pancake. Nothing could affect me more at that moment. I really did feel like a pancake. I mean, come on, people. That's a step too far.
You know,
he's a real person, dude. And like, there's some animal, supporter screams out, Marco van Basten, you're a pancake. Unbelievable. But there's a happy story now. He's got a WhatsApp group with his kids called the Little Pancake. So he's repurposed that word in a way, isn't it?
In The Simpsons, obviously, when Darryl Strawberry, there's a parade in Darryl Strawberry. And as Marge says, what are you doing now? He says, don't worry, Mom. These things just roll right off their backs. And then you see Darryl Strawberry's tear on the nose.
Darryl. I know exactly what it is. I saw Darryl Strawberry play, Johnny. He did not hit a home run. Yep. On to a game, Mets in 1988. They lost 1-0 to the Pittsburgh Pirates in a very unexciting game of baseball. Anyway, so there he is, like. So what did Marco van Basten bring us? VAR, thanks. Tax woes, cheers. A bad ankle, great. That was hatred of the word pancake.
After all of these, he's walked away from these various positions. He said, okay, I want to be assistant or whatever. And so then Gianni Infantino comes in and he wants to make FIFA about football again. How's that going, Johnny? And so Van Basten is brought in he's got 40 million budget and he's in charge of, the kind of the rules side of football, as you say, and he wants to bring along VAR or whatever. He says at some point, he's in charge of, did he say also 40 people working under him? He says, on my first day, a fella came in asking me for annual leave. I didn't know what to do. It's like, who was running FIFA? Gianni Infantino, why are you putting Marco van Basten in charge of HR? What is happening here?
I mean, I was staggered by this, Johnny. Like 40 people under him. Yeah, I wonder if I can take a holiday. What? He always has people. He always has to have people around to do his job for him. And he's like, oh, but FIFA wanted me for my ideas, not my name. No, you are fucking useless. Like,
if I told you a month ago that you would prefer Dennis Weiss to Marco van Basten, what would you have said to me?
I would have been surprised, Johnny. But I would definitely rather hang out with Dennis Weiss and Marco van Basten, for sure.
There'd be a lot of ankle chat if you met Van Basten.
Yeah, this lad. I mean, it's totally... He peaked in high school, right? That's like literally what he did. His whole career's... like they say, like, people who have drug addictions, like, they sort of stop developing, they stop maturing at the point they develop their addiction. And I kind of feel that Van Basten sort of stopped developing as a person when his ankle went. And at that point, his whole life has become about this ankle and his tax woes.
I remember we did the Fowler book. I was surprised because Fowler has always seemed so cool. And in the book, he wasn't very cool. And I remember just thinking, why did you write this book, Robbie? It's not going to burnish your reputation. It's just going to make people think, maybe Robbie Fowler is not as cool as they thought. But the same here, even more so. Why did you write this book, Marco? Why?
Yeah, I mean, it just gives him an impression of an incredibly gloomy guy who's unhappy with the massive riches that have been bestowed upon him. I mean, it must be frustrating. I get it. You were the greatest player in the world, arguably, and it's over. You're a very wealthy man who plays golf in Italy all day fucking long with your beautiful family and your beautiful wife. It's not so bad, dude. It's not so bad.
Yeah, I can get by on 13 million. Yes, you can, Marco.
You'd like to think so. And that's it. God knows what he's raking in now from all these sponsorships. It is a gloomy book. What would you give it, Johnny? I'm going to give it 2 amputated toes out of 5.
It has to be pancakes, Al. Just because the word is so powerful.
All right, then. 2 panacokin.
I would say, 2, exactly that. You had said in your written review of Michael Owen's book that it was a revealing book about Owen, and you felt that as much as any book, we kind of saw a window into a player, which you obviously don't get when like Crouch, for example. So that's just kind of, it's the character that Crouch is playing. But I did feel like we got a little bit of a window into Van Basten. He's just a bit of a boring, miserable fucker. And I think there was a couple of interesting enough wrinkles. So I would give it 2 pancakes out of 5. Same as you.
Very good. Yeah, he's gloomy and severe. Well, I guess he had a pretty tough childhood, but blimey, dude.
Yeah, so our next book is Big Sam Allardyce. I think it's called Big Sam, isn't it? I'm sure that would be like.
Of course it's called Big Sam. I mean, what else would Sam Allardyce call his book?
Say what you like about Big Sam. He's probably pretty funny, isn't he?
He seems happy enough with his lot, doesn't he? Unlike a certain Mr. Van Basten or a Miss Rowan who we've been doing recently. Yeah.
But
although having said that, I'm sure he's going to moan about how he's not been appreciated as the greatest English manager of his generation.
You know that book, Sapiens, by the Yuval Noah Harari. I remember he says in that book that if 2 twins with the exact same chemical makeup, chemistry, on the same day one of them wins the lottery and the other one has a leg amputated, and if you come back to those people in a year, they will have kind of returned to normal. So the misery and the kind of elation of the 2 experiences, they'll have kind of settled back down the hedonic treadmill, right? And
right.
I guess reading this book, you just think that whatever happens to these guys, whatever happens to anyone in life, it doesn't necessarily make them upbeat. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So many regrets.
And like, obviously, this is a tragic end to a glittering career, but amazing. This is an amazing life.
Yeah, he travels the world. He does whatever he wants, whenever he wants. It's 28 years ago, bruv. Let it go.
Yeah, well, I guess you're right, though. I think he's traumatized, right? And you said that he sees all these quack doctors, and I want, like, has he ever tried to? I'm sure he has seen people to talk about his ankle, but that doesn't seem to have helped him. Maybe this is why he did the book.
That's why he did the book. Now I've had it fused and I can walk without pain. Okay. It's pretty random. Bloke in my bar had his ankle fused recently. He's not written a book about it, feeling sorry for himself.
Yeah, it's a shame. Anyway, poor old Marco. On we go. So on to Big Sam and his pints of wine.
Thank you very much for listening. As Johnny says, we'll be back with Sam Allardyce in 2 weeks. And next week we're doing 5-a-side draft of shitty tattoos. Or just tattoos, I guess. Exciting tattoos as well. If I can find a really fucking great tattoo, we'll highlight it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can find a good one, I'd be even more interested.
Thank you very much indeed, Johnny.
Thanks, folks, and please do like and subscribe and rate us a little review if you get the chance. Thank you very much. Cheers, Al.
Cheers, fella.
Dal dottor Motti. Siamo sul 3-0. Largo Tassotti, il passaggio è per Rijkaard. Si defila Colombo, il lancio è su Gullit, il colpo di testa per Van Basten, il gol clamoroso di Van Basten, stupenda azione del Milan, 4-0. Quarto minuto del secondo tempo, Marco van Basten, vedete la combinazione olandese, il colpo di testa di Gullit, l'arresto di Van Basten, il controllo, il sinistro impietoso che trafigge ancora buio. Rivediamo Gullit, Van Basten, sono 4. Gragnuola di reti.